Hi, this is GrandmaGloria, and I'm coming with my Valentine's recipe. This is going to be my Valentine's video, and it's my red velvet cake. What's more appropriate than a red cake on Valentine's Day? So let's get started. With the cake, you always start off with your sugar. So it calls for a cup and a half of sugar. The next thing that goes in is your shortening or either your butter. This is a half a strip of butter and a half of Crisco shortening. And before you do anything or put your eggs or anything in it,
how much of that?
This is a half cup of Crisco shortening, and then a half a strip of butter. Okay. Before we put our eggs in, which calls for 2 eggs, we got to blend this up. I have to plug up my machine. Give me a minute. Put this in because this may be on. Red velvet cake. A red velvet cake is one of the most popular cakes that's out there today. And they do have a box cake, which I don't consider an original red velvet cake. This is an original. It gonna have ingredients you're gonna say, what? I've never heard of vinegar in a cake. That's what this calls for. Beat this up a little more and I'm gonna add my 2 eggs. Now it calls for 2 eggs. Try to keep this area clear and out of the way. Make sure no eggshells go in there. What happened here? What happened? I make sure my sugar, my eggs, my shortening is well blended together before I go to the next step. Now, this calls for, before I put, this cake also calls for not only vinegar, but it's called for buttermilk. Most cakes calls for regular milk. So before I go to that, I'm going to add my dry ingredients, which is 2½ cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of cocoa. It calls for instead of baking powder, you want baking soda, and it's 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon. No, that's a teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. It calls for half a teaspoon of salt. You're going to add all these dry ingredients together before you put them in your cake. And it's also calls for, I think, oh, let me get my 3 tablespoons of cocoa. And before you put that in that batter, you want to mix this up very, very well. As long as I can see some whiteness in there, you're not blending it well. And you don't want it to go in the cake with spots of white, spots of chocolate. So I do this. So at the same time, the baking soda and the salt is also coming together. So we're going to make sure before I put it into my, see, the more preparation care you take for your baking, the better it comes out. So you want to take time to do everything right, and you don't want to rush it. If you want people to say, oh wow, that's a beautiful cake, you know, by taking the time and the effort, I think that's good enough right there. The blend will do the rest of it. All right, so little by little, we're going to add the milk, and we're going to add the dry ingredients. You don't want to put them all in at once. So I'm going to do this. And this calls for a cup, 1 cup of buttermilk. I'll put it in little by little so that you can get it blended up very well. I'm going to use this to make sure you don't have a lot of batter left around the side of the bowl. You want to get all of that. I'm going to add one more time this, and then I'm going to put those wet ingredients in here so it can loosen up a little more, which is my vinegar, my vanilla extract, and my red food coloring. Now, before I go any further and complete that, I'm going to add these ingredients so they can also blend in the rest of the batter. But you don't put them in at the beginning. Okay, now this calls for the vinegar is, looking on here, 1 tablespoon. You don't want to make a mistake on your vinegar. This is white vinegar. 1 tablespoon. Put that there. And this calls for a 4th cup, which is 2 ounces. And I had it here. This calls for 2 ounces of red food coloring, and 2 ounces of red food coloring equals the amount of a 4th cup of red food coloring. That's a lot. But that's why they call it red velvet. Okay. This is a 4th cup of food coloring. And I don't want to forget my vanilla flavor. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavor. That's 1 teaspoon. You're going to see this come together. So that's all your wet ingredients. I'm going to finish with the rest of this in here. Let me blend this together. Okay, at this point, I'm going to put the rest of the dry ingredients. I'm going to put the rest of the buttermilk. And this should be the last we have to do. A lot of the red food coloring is around the bowl, so to make sure I get that from around the side. And you're gonna see just how beautiful this cake is with the cream cheese filling. Awesome. Around the side of the bowl. I'm gonna get that from around there, and this should be our last process. Okay. As you can see on the blaze, how beautiful this is looking. Okay. Okay, that's the batter of the red velvet cake. Now all we need to do now is put these in the pan, and now this is cooked at, baked at 375. for 25 to 30 minutes. And the first time I made this cake, I had 3 layers, and they came out very, very small. I don't want to do that. I want the layers to be nice and thick. These pans supposed to be ungreased, but I'm the old-fashioned way. So I'm gonna still put a little spray pan around it because I just can't trust the idea of it'll be all right. Close this. So I'm just gonna spray around the pan just a little bit. Now, the only way I can tell whether or not I got an equal amount in the pan, get all of this out of the way, with the exception of this. I start off, I know this leaves 10 dips of, oh my goodness, look at that. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'll put 3 in here. I'm not finished with that. 1, 2, 3. I'll put 1 more in here. 1 more in here. Okay. Getting down to the last. I think I'll probably have to do a half. Let me do this. They got the equal amount. Let me do this. I think I'm gonna need about a half a spoon in each one of them. And that way they'll come out equally. All right. It's a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm gonna do, yes, that should be it. And the rest of it is going to go in this pan. See, they're going to be equally inside. And with the layer cake, that's what you want to try to do. We're going to level these pans. Let's do this. That's leveling the cake and also taking out any bubbles. See how you don't want to put it in the stove like that. Taking out the bubbles while leavening it at the same time. All right, we're gonna take these pans, put them in the oven at 375. I'm putting them both on the top rack, because you don't want them to be brown on the bottom. Yes, we're going to make the icing for this red velvet cake, and this calls for only 4 ingredients. This is 2 cups of powdered sugar. This is a half a strip of butter, 1 block of Philadelphia cream cheese, and 1 egg. And we're going to put all that together and blend it. This is the easiest icing you could ever make. So let's do this. Oops, sorry. Maybe I should have had my bigger bowl, but it's going to work out. Just a minute just to bring down all this around the bowl, and this will be finished. Don't take long. And when we come back, the cake will be icing, and all we need to do is just take a small slice. But this is your cream cheese filling for your red velvet cake. I'll be back. This is GrandmaGloria again. We have completed the red velvet cake, and I just want to share with you and help you celebrate and give you some ideas what you can do on Valentine's Day, the most lovable day of the whole year. Now, I promise you, I won't be doing too much of this concerning singing and all of that, because some of you all may say, this is a cooking show, which it is. But to all of my followers and all my subscribers, I just want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day. And to you men, to your special lady, even if you can't sing these words, I want you to say these words. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? My sweet lady. Who would have thought that I could be so lovely to have, so lucky to have you? Isn't she lovely, my baby? And it means even if you can't sing, you can say, oh, you so lovely. You so wonderful. You so beautiful, my lady. Who would have thought that I could be so lucky to have somebody like you? Isn't she lovely, my baby? Happy Valentine's Day to all of my followers. Love you.